Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGenEd. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts and going over some crypto data. So, this is Crypto Corner Sat Stacker for Saturday, May 17th. This is an ongoing series that I'll probably do for the rest of the year, just every Saturday, going over, basically reevaluating or looking over the crypto charts, reevaluating my thesis, which is kind of laid out here. I'll go over it briefly, but I thought it might be nice to kind of start out with a little bit of a story, get into the details of that thesis, and then get into the charts of the tickers that I am stacking. But anyways, here looking over at this chart, this is of Ethereum on the weekly time frame. And then I do have some memes here that have just kind of, been reminders to me of, basically when everybody's saying something is garbage, that's really actually the time to buy. When people get really bored, that is the time to stack, to accumulate. But then when there is euphoria in the markets, like, over here or potentially over here, although I don't think that, that's going to be, for 2024, of course, those were the highs. But I think that for this cycle, basically ending by 2026, somewhere around then, I think that Ethereum could be hitting around $8,000, but maybe, it will be good to take some profits or trim around 6,000 or so, because that would be new all-time highs, which were previously around $4,800 or $4,900 right here. But yeah, so looking at these memes, just basically people selling at the bottom, Ethereum joining this legacy, outdated technology or platforms that are not really used anymore. Holders being left behind when the crypto market takes off. Asking a friend if they're buying the dip on April 7th, which was the dip for Ethereum, for Bitcoin, for a number of these. Put out a video on ETHster going over, my thesis, and noticed in TradingView, looking at the Coinbase data, just looking at the chart, but not if you ask Grok. Grok will give you a different number, but the Bitcoin low for April was $74,420.69, so a 420 and 69 there. That does, maybe there's something to it. But just looking at the chart here, you can see that red line that I have that would suggest 8,000 by the end of the year. That goes back to the pivot highs from, I believe, the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And then we saw this massive pullback. And I was thinking about it this morning. That was actually my introduction to crypto. I remember looking at the Bitcoin chart and thinking, wow, I can afford to get one of those Bitcoin, or, I can get, a handful of Ethereum. And so I believe the tokens that I got then, the coins that I got then, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and XLM, which those two are, Ripple and Stellar. And, I didn't hold them all the way through. I actually converted all of them to Ethereum. I held them and was like, I'm just going to wait until break even and then I'm done with this crypto thing. And then I sold at break even. This happened. And maybe I FOMO'd in a little bit here for some tickers, some of these, maybe Doge was one of them. And then this pulled back. ETH recently tested those highs. So that's kind of, crazy thing, full circle. But on the note of getting into the market here, that was after grad school. I had a little bit of a gap between grad school and starting my first job, also referred to as a postdoc. And I had a little bit of debt because of that gap. And I probably shouldn't have been getting into crypto at the time. I think I would have had a better experience had I been more responsible about that debt. So that's also part of the thesis here. Then just to note really, that pivot point, that high, excuse me, we did retest it over here. Also have some other levels here that suggested maybe this was a bottom, maybe this was a fake out, and we are seeing it go higher. And this is this is a chart from probably about a month ago. I started to just kind of track this and start this crypto corner. And so the thesis that I have is just up here. I'm just going to go through these bullet points real quick. And that is really just that Bitcoin and crypto will top between May and December of 2025. So basically, the 4-year cycle blow off top. And thinking about that, if I think that these are going to be going higher, basically what I have in my savings account is less than 4% APY. I believe currently it's 3.6% APY, which is not that great, but there are definitely savings accounts or just sitting, putting cash under the bed, whatever, stuff like that, not earning as much there. So I do think that is, okay. But I think I could be doing better with crypto, as I will get to. And then also, like I had mentioned, debt, that I had some debt back in 2017, 2018. I do have some debt right now, but that's actually 0 APR until March of 2026. So I got some wiggle room there. And I've just been getting some offers recently that I could get some more 0% APR that would not expire until about August of 2026. So that's kind of appealing, but not just yet. And I should note too that my credit score is above 720. So I do think that, when doing stuff with crypto, sometimes people do get tempted with debt. I think it's really good to be responsible about that because you can have some really long lasting pain if you're not responsible with that. And so considering that I'm trying to be, I do have more than 100% of my debt in savings to be collecting that APY. But like I had mentioned, I do think I could do better than that APY with crypto. And so the remainder of what I have, that's covering beyond that debt, my savings. My goal is to have 6 months of bills stacked up plus expenses in 2026 for, 6 months. And currently I do have less than that. So what I have been doing is putting that remainder, that savings, into crypto for greater than 4% APY, which for me, for my budget, you got to do you, is approximately $500 per week to DCA. And I like to do daily DCAs, or dollar cost averaging, into positions. And I have found that that has been really helpful. So there's no more FOMO or no more waiting for the dip that never happens. I was waiting for Bitcoin to hit 12K in the last, 2023, and it got to a low of 15 and some change, a little bit below 16K. And really, I was waiting for sub 20 and I got greedy. And so FOMO works in both directions, both at the top, both at the bottom, or like anti-FOMO, waiting for that bottom that never happens. And so I don't want that to happen again. So that's why I've been doing this very boring daily DCA, but I do think that is a good way to accumulate positions while managing risk. And so I think that this series will demonstrate that over the course of 2025, but I could be wrong. Maybe I go broke. I have no idea. And just the final note here is that I do have more confidence in Bitcoin over alts. And that's really just thinking about this in the long time frame perspective that, if I am wrong, I would much rather be holding Bitcoin than any alts, including ETH, Solana, Doge, any of them. So I have a little bit more emphasis on Bitcoin as far as just stacking goes. But over the course of this year, I do have intention to swing a lot of these alts. And so that's really where the fun of this thesis comes in, which I will be exploring. So this is... clicking over to the tab. This is, the table that we will be populating in this video. This goes over all 18. And actually, before I get into that, for the thesis, Ed was blocking it. I meant to adjust it, get him out of the way. And sorry, I'm not editing this and stuff. But yeah, I just have this here, that peak there. If I get Ed out of the way just for a second, that was the high 2017, 2018. I should have had him moved over for that. But anyways, let's get back over to the table that we will be populating. This is, all of the tickers that I'll be going over, which should be timestamped down below. So if you want to skip to your favorite ticker, that is fine. And just getting Ed out of the way for this, these are all of them, and so I will be going over them in this order, again, timestamp down below, so you can skip to them. And if you notice, the colors here are different. Yellow means that they've stayed in the same ranking based on my risk, the amount of money that I am risking on them. And then the ones that are green have moved up in the ranking. So Trump coin was previously ranked at number 17. Now it's gone up to basically number 10. It says 11 over here, but that's just because of the header is number 1. And anything that's red has moved down, like Cardano was 10, but Trump took it over. Cardano moved down a little bit there. And yeah, and then I will be going over basically my daily DCA plan, which for Bitcoin is $40 a week, or sorry, $40 a day, which ends up being more than $250 a week because the idea is to potentially sell some of that Bitcoin for that 6 months of bills and expenses. But ideally I will not. But if I do, I have a little bit extra, about 36 bucks a day ends up being around $250. So let's see, I'm just going to pull up the calculator so we can do that. So 36 times 7 is 252. The reason why I have Ethereum at 36.25 is because I end up getting discounts. I do that with Robinhood, and it ends up being, I put in a little bit less than 36 a day. So that's why I have that 25 there, just so I do get that 250 a week. So with that Ethereum, with that Bitcoin, that is the $500 a week. But then I am also doing some DCAing and or dip buying with these others. And one of those is Doge, which I do have the asterisk here. That is a $5 dip buy if it does come down to my average. But, you know, if that doesn't happen, that's cool too. Doge is, you know, pretty high up on the risk here. I do think that ETH should be higher than it. And next week, I thought it would be this week, but next week, Ethereum will take over Doge as the number 2 ticker on the list here. And then just moving down, if there are asterisks, that's because it's not a daily DCA. If there is not, that means I was doing some DCAing last week. And so I will go over those, and I actually have to update some of these. Yeah, so I'll just be breaking that down ticker by ticker. I do hope that it is helpful for you. This is definitely helpful for me. That's why I'm recording it. I'm sorry, this is selfish. I'm doing this for me, but I do think this will serve as a nice documentation of a good way to manage risk in crypto, whether that's entering it for the first time or just having a strategy to build up, to stack Bitcoin. And I should note before I get into the details here that these are the exchanges that I use. I do have links in the description if you would like to use my link. I think we both get a little bit of a benefit, but no pressure there. Strike is a Bitcoin-only platform. I really like it a lot for stacking Bitcoin. Very easy to transfer, put money in, take Bitcoin out. I like it a lot. When I do transfer Bitcoin out, I move it to my Trezor hardware wallet. I have a Trezor Model 1, which actually does not hold all of the tokens on this list. And so I then just recently got a Trezor Safe 3 so that I can store like Solana, XRP, and let's see, and Cardano on that, which I could not on the Model 1. And then these are all the other exchanges that I use, primarily Robinhood, just because it's pretty easy. Some of the ones that are not listed on Robinhood, I use either Coinbase or Uphold. Those do have, in my view, higher fees, which I don't like, but they do have, you know, more coins available on those platforms, so I do think that is kind of nice. But yeah, let's dive into Bitcoin. I'm really just going to populate the market cap divided by 1,000,000 just to keep that number a little bit more manageable, and then I will be putting up the price, the closing price from Friday, and so we can see then, you know, what my P&L is currently. Currently, it's negative 100. That's because I don't have anything populated in the price right there. But yeah, so with Bitcoin, let's look over at CoinMarketCap. I've got this pulled up, my watch list here with all the tickers on the list, all 18 of them, and we can see that Bitcoin, I'm just going to accept the cookies so that goes away. Bitcoin is at the top of the list, probably always will be at the top of the list, and so I'm just going to copy this market cap number so I can paste it. Oh, crap. 1 second. I guess I deleted that. Yeah, I deleted it, and I should have done this. So, oh crap, I got to copy that number again. So what I'm going to do is just paste it up here so then it divides by 1,000,000. A little clunky, but it is what it is. And sorry about that. I should have better prepared for this, but I forgot that one. There are probably going to be things I forget to do every single week. But, you know, it's quality, not quantity, or something like that. So yeah, I'm just going to paste the number here. And maybe actually this is a nice way to look at it. It was at 205. Now it's at 204. So it looks like it did come down a little bit. And we can just see that, but, more or less still up there at, 2 trillion. It's pretty big market cap. And then so now let's look over at the price of Bitcoin, and then I'll do a little bit of charting here to kind of explore where I think this could be going. But yeah, just to get that number. And let's see, so this is Friday, May 16th. That's where the cursor is. And it looks like the close, and so I'm just going to be reading the number that's up here. The close is 103,503, 103,503. Did I get that right? Yes. Okay. And so now we can see my P&L. I'm up 29%. So right there, that did just populate. And so I'm up 29%. That's better than saving. So I feel good about that. Some of these are going to be pretty negative though. So, I think Bitcoin, I've just had a better strategy with Bitcoin because I've been doing this DCAing with Bitcoin for longer because I have that long time frame conviction in it. And so looking at the chart here in Bitcoin, what do I see? I've talked about this, and I do talk about Bitcoin as well as Ethereum every either morning or evening for either pre-market prep or overnight market prep, depending on my work schedule. I just go over kind of market view, stock market, and also some crypto with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so I do go over that, but not in TradingView. I actually do that in Webull. That's the trading platform that I use for stocks. And so what we can see here, which is maybe a little bit cluttered because of all this orange and stuff. So maybe I'll change this one to, I don't know, red. And then this one, I'll leave that as orange. Then this one, I will make that yellow. And so we can kind of see this progression stepping up based on, let's see if I just adjust this axis so we don't have the volume in the way, based on these up moves, consolidation, i.e. forming a bull flag. And from that, do this Fibonacci extension, which is an extension from the bottom to the top and then to the pullback level. And then that gives a 100% extension, basically the distance from the bottom to the top here taken from this low. And that gives us a price of around $95,000, which is where we consolidated at for this bull flag over here. And I perhaps want to, I think actually I adjusted this not to the pullback low here, but to the low over here. And we can see with that the orange level, we did consolidate there. I think, maybe what I want to do is, yeah, I should have had that right to there. That low that we hit on May 6th, it looks like we did get consolidation highs around 105. And we are now trading below that. But I am just going to, let's see, adjust this and remove, oh, crap. So that's the 786. That's not the 100% extension. So the 100% extension is up here at 108. So maybe that's why I had this pulled back down here. Crap, pop-ups. I don't pay for TradingView, which I should perhaps do. So yeah, but I think that's fair. That's like the consolidation low. Once we saw this big move up, that was the low following that and then the high following that. So I'll just leave that there. And we do see the 786, that's 78.6% to the upside from this low here, around 103,000 or $103,500, and then the high is around 106,700. And then we can basically do that again with this yellow one to see where Bitcoin could be going next. And I'm just going to adjust the axis here so we can see that. And so it looks like that 786 brings us to around $110,000, whereas the 100% extension brings us to just shy of $113,000. And then also happens to correspond with a trend line that I have marked there. And so that trend line does intersect with the not necessarily pivot highs, but kind of like consolidation highs where we have, multiple wicks up into those levels. This one more or less the wick high, not the consolidation high, which would be more like around 100. Well, that's crazy. Yeah, $106,000, something like that. And we do see the intersections there. But what's that line based on? And so to look back in time, if we can see that that also intersects with the pivot highs over here from the 2021 cycle, and then intersects with the highs from like December of 2017. And so I find that to be pretty interesting. I think that is compelling that if Bitcoin does move up to, let's say, 110 to 120, somewhere in that range, so 115 plus or minus 5,000, somewhere around there. Nobody's perfect, nobody's precise, but that's the best I can do. Maybe we're going to see some resistance. Maybe we see a pullback there. But is that going to be the all-time high? I mean, I feel like that could be a notable high like we saw over here, and we saw a pretty notable pullback that lasted, let's see, how long was that pullback? That lasted almost 3 months, 79 days. And then to get back to those levels, I think that's another important part of it. We're still not back there, but it's been 114 days, maybe a half a year for that pullback. So that's a good amount of time to maybe take some risk off the table. And so I'm kind of contemplating, do I want to either maybe stop less aggressively or more less aggressively DCA Bitcoin if we do get up to that 110 to 120 region, with the expectation of it pulling back some so I could more aggressively buy on the pullback, or maybe if I want to take some profits there, I'm not really sure. And then another level that I do have that is based on this pivot point over here, and I'm actually not sure where it goes to, but I think I just have to adjust this to the log scale. And then, hey, now it intersects with, I would say, more like the consolidation highs with the levels from 2021. And so looking at it like this, we do have some pierces, some consolidation above that red trend line. But then towards the end of the year in 2021, that served as a good indicator for the pivot highs, the wick highs, not the consolidation highs. So maybe we are going to be testing that, looking at this on the log scale by the end of the year. And so to consider that, we actually have to adjust this, the y-axis. So December 29th here, we can see that, is approximately the end of the year. And that corresponds to Bitcoin being at a price of $254,000 or 250. Don't want to be too precise. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of upside potential with Bitcoin, but it's not going to be a straight line up. I think that we could be seeing some resistance in the $110,000 to $120,000 region, corresponding with this yellow trend line on the linear scale, but then on the log scale, with all of this bullish momentum, all of these things going on with the current administration, I just think that Bitcoin is going to go a lot higher, and maybe by the end of the year it could hit $250,000. So I want to be prepared for that outcome, but I also want to be able to be prepared to, pay my bills and whatnot. So when we do hit 110,000, which we have not yet, currently trading sub 103,000, then maybe I'd want to trim a little or become a little less aggressive with my daily DCAs. But anyways, yeah, that's my thoughts on Bitcoin at just shy of $103,000, whereas last night, though, it did close on Friday at 103.5 thousand. And so my average is 80,000. I feel pretty good about that. It was lower, but because of this DCAing, it's going a little bit higher, but I am still looking good, still going to be doing that $40 daily DCA. And I'm going to continue doing that for the next week, probably 2 weeks, but we will see. And so now let's look over at the next one on the list, which is Dogecoin, ticker symbol DOGE, as I'm sure we all know. And so the market cap for Doge last week was almost 34 billion. But we'll have to check out over here to see how that has changed. Doge is number 8 on the list here. And it has gone down a little bit in market cap, down to about 32. And so let's just copy and paste that number over here. Make sure I got that correct. And yep, I do want to do that. Okay, and so we can see that there has come down a little bit. And maybe I should note, maybe I should do this with some color. I think that makes this a little bit more fun, a little bit more interactive. So maybe I'll make this yellow. Maybe I'll make these yellow so we don't know if they've gone up or down. These two have both gone down from last week. So good to just visually note that. Very cool. Okay, and so now the price of Dogecoin. Is it above 17.39? That's my average. We will have to see. So coming over here, I think I had some issues with the Doge that I was looking at. TradingView, I don't think gave me that great of data. I don't think it gave me the volume. So I'll just pull that up. Nothing on the chart. And yes, I think that was the case. So looking at Doge here, I'm going to go to Binance and looking at this with Tether against Tether USD. And so this is a little overwhelming. Oh no, I think the one that I went to was Kraken. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No, this can't be right. What did I do here last week? I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so, oh, it's because of this. If I do Doge and then I scroll down to Kraken US dollar. No. What is going on here? Binance US dollar. That's probably what it is. Okay, gosh. I was a little bit nervous there. Okay, so got the stuff here. I'm just going to do it right at the beginning so I don't forget that Doge closed yesterday on Friday, May 16th at a price of 22.14. So I'm just going to add that over here, 22.14. And I'm up about 27% on my position. So feeling good about that. And I did not daily DCA at all last week. I just have a $5 limit buy, I believe, for 17.4 cents. And that has not been filled. So I just have $5 sitting on the side there for that to happen. And once that does get filled, then, I will kind of reassess. And maybe I'll reallocate some funds that I would have for the ones down here to Doge, or just maybe take a little bit of that extra out of savings to, dip buy on Doge. But then looking over at the chart here, I don't have too much analyzed over here, but really what we can see, what I can do is do let's see over here. I want to do this Fibonacci trend-based fib extension. And so actually before I do that, I just want to get I like the volume there. I think it's important to consider, but I just want to see that low there. So we can see, the low here up to this high, and then pull back. And so that 100% level gave us a nice target. Maybe for this, I want to do the 1618 as well. Nah, that kind of overshot it a little bit. I don't want to be greedy. So let's just leave the 100% at 22.62, which we're currently trading below, and 21.29, which we're basically exactly at right now. So pretty cool. And yeah, since this is the one, actually this would be like kind of the one from the bottom. So maybe I could do another one from over here. Pull back. That predicted the top there nicely. And maybe this one, I want to adjust that to there. That wasn't aggressive enough. So I might do this. That one I will color red. This one I will color orange. And then the next one that I do, which maybe I shouldn't have colored that last one orange, I will do a Fibonacci extension from this low to the recent high, and then the pullback level, whatever that is, whatever that's going to be. Maybe it corresponds with the pivot high from over here. So I'm just going to draw it out like that. And that would then suggest that the 786 would be bringing price to around 28 cents. And perhaps I should color this one yellow so we can distinguish it from the others. 28 cents. And then if I do adjust the axes here, we can see that the 100% would be bringing price to around 30 cents. So all of that upside potential, I think that's good and above my average, so feeling good about Doge. If we do come back to the highs here, that's around 47, 48 cents. And going back in time, if we do go up to, really, I believe I have this drawn to the all-time highs, the pivot highs. And what I should probably do is draw this based on the consolidation highs. And I'll kind of explain my thought process on that. That is a term that I've recently started using. I don't know if it's a thing, but I'll just give you my breakdown of why it makes sense. So looking at this yellow line, that approximately corresponds with the wick highs here at around 74.8 cents. And so the highs over here for May 8th of 2021 was 76.05. So 76 was about the highs. I have it approximately marked there, but you don't really get too many opportunities to take profits at those levels. And so if I do move this level down a little bit, we can see that when we pierced that level at 69.18 cents, having fun with the numbers. I like that. I feel good about it. It's fun. We pierced it over here, pulled back, pierced it again. So that's another opportunity to exit at 69. And also too, there might be some spread. So if you have a limit sell at 70, or a limit sell at 69, but it only goes up to 70, maybe that doesn't, your sell doesn't fill. So that's why I think consolidation highs is a better way to map this out, because we have multiple days where it's piercing that level, clearly going higher. So those orders would be filled in my view. And yeah, that represents basically the all-time highs for Doge. And I think that we could be eclipsing that. I think that we could be seeing $1 a coin later this year, maybe in 2026. I'm not sure. But generally, looking at all of this history, I think that we've got a lot of upside potential. Still in 2023. This is 2024, I believe. And now we're getting into closer to the end. No, crap. I need to just zoom out. Sorry about all that scrolling. There we go. Okay, so yeah, I think that this could be going up a lot higher. That's my thesis, but I don't think it's as safe of a bet as something like Bitcoin, of course, or Ethereum, believe it or not. And so with that being said, I'll flip back to over here. We can dive into the Ethereum, but I am first going to have a little bit of a sip of coffee, as this is kind of like my morning ritual on Saturdays now. Try to sleep in a little bit, but dive into this. And I did just save it. You can't see it, so I got to make sure I keep up on that. And so Ethereum is the next one on the list, which last week had a market cap of about $293 billion. And I believe that was and is and will likely be for a while, if not always, the number 2 crypto on the list here. And so let's just copy this market cap number over, 298. And so that did actually go up. Believe it or not, Ethereum went up while the other ones went down. And so I'm just going to be doing this. Oh, crap. What happened there? Ethereum, what happened to you? Oh, I think I need to copy it like that. And so I was copying a different number over. I'm not sure. Not sure what happened there. There we go. That looks more correct. In the prior week, it was lower than that, whereas Doge and Bitcoin were higher. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this green because Ethereum's market cap went up. Kind of anomalous there. So pretty cool. And then let's look over at the price to see where Ethereum's at. I imagine that it went up over the past week. We'll have to see though. Ethereum, US dollar, looking at the Coinbase data here, and the closing price from Friday, May 16th was at 253802. 253802. 253802. So got that there. I'm up, wow, I'm up 30%. Ethereum is my best performer. Look at that. I feel good about that. And my average, it looks like, is currently just shy of $2,000. I was buying, I believe I really just kind of started, I didn't necessarily get super aggressive at 1,400, but I started to kind of realize, well, I think my thesis is correct there. And so, yeah, my daily DCA with Ethereum, which will continue to be at least for probably the next week. Payday for me is next Friday, so maybe I'll reevaluate, but I will be doing this again for this next week. Same with Bitcoin. I think I forgot to mention that payday for me is next week, and I tend to adjust, or I will adjust these perhaps around that payday schedule, whereas this other stuff I will just do based on what the market's doing relative to my averages. But anyways, looking at that price, let's look over at the chart here. What's going on with ETH? This is something that I talked about in, I believe, last week's overnight market preps, because I was working mornings and so I stream at night. Looking at this, we can see that Ethereum consolidated here for about 2 weeks before going up. Then it consolidated here for about 2 weeks. And I can just show you that measurement. So from this, green candle, big green candle, following that consolidation to the next big green candle, it's 15 days, about 14, really just being in that kind of flat, boring range, 14 days. So big up move. Once it cools off, that day included 14 days of being boring before next leg up. And let's see, okay. Now we can look, big move up. When did it start getting boring? Let's say about on this candle. And so that would then suggest that 14 days over here. May 24th maybe is the last day of this boring consolidation before we see a move higher, but maybe we start to see it break down. I don't really know. No idea, just trying to kind of map this out, think about it. And one thing that I can do that I don't really do too much is do some drawings. And so I am going to pull up the parallel channel, and we can just see the goal of this is to really just highlight this range here. And I'm just going to hold the shift so I get a level going across. And then that. Maybe I actually don't want that to extend all the way over. And so maybe I want to adjust the settings here. Extend right. I'm not going to do that. So we have this nice little range that Ethereum was trading in. And so just kind of thinking about that, maybe I actually want to zoom in on this so I'm not at the specific highs, but instead, at the consolidation highs. So there would be opportunities to buy and sell based on the lows. And actually, I don't think that looks as good, so I will leave it how I had it. Sorry about that. But yeah, we have been, kind of range bound for a couple weeks with the low of around 1,700, the high around just shy of 1,900. And so with that, if buying the dips, getting up to the top, that's an 8% move. And then from the top to the bottom, it's going to be about, again, 7% or so move there. And then we get this big move to the upside. And so now I'm wondering if we're kind of consolidating in a range that could be going on for about 2 weeks. So let's map this out just like I did over there, going from the high. Actually, wait a second. I drew that, from the green candle there. So let's see. I'll do it from the green candle here. We can just kind of map this out from that approximate high, horizontal line over, going to May 24th is what I was saying. And then I will bring this down to what we have so far seen as the lows. Maybe that's the range that we see before we go to the next leg up. What would that next leg up be? Let's do some Fibonacci extensions, really just based on this one to see about that, which actually, I think that one is better drawn from the bottom here. I think it gives a better predictor of the top, but I'll first do it from here just so we can see what I'm talking about, up to that high and then down to that low. So yeah, that's not a very impressive rally. But then if I do bring this low to the low over here around 1,400, wow, we really did go past that. So maybe what I want to do, Ethereum really outperformed. Let's see, the 1618, I don't know that I want to have the 2618 up there, but maybe I do. I will just add that here. And let's see what's going on with this. Yeah, so that 2618, a little bit of an outperformer. Yeah, but anyways, maybe this is an example of why Fibonacci's are not necessarily always the best tools to be using. But really, actually, okay, so I think this is something to consider. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what we're seeing here. So if I just pull this over, still corresponding with that low, but then just giving us a wider range to look at on the x-axis, you know. So what we can see is that we definitely went past the 786, the 100%, when we got up to the 1618, started to consolidate around there. That really corresponds fairly nicely with that consolidation range that, you know, I'm talking about. But we did not get to the 2618, so I think that's being greedy. And maybe what we end up getting is diminishing returns. So maybe the next time this goes up, it doesn't go to the 1618. Maybe the next time Ethereum goes up, it only goes to the 100%, which is, you know, this level here. So let's consider that. Okay, and maybe next week or maybe sometime, what I'll want to do is adjust these extensions, to have some shading so we can differentiate between the levels rather than just reading the numbers. We can have some visual colored cues. But anyways, let's adjust. I'm going to leave that as yellow, so the next one that I draw will be yellow. But let's do that from this low over here, approximate low, going up to this high, and then pulling back. So we can see where Ethereum could be going on the next run. And so that since that one's yellow, I'm going to color this other one orange, so we can differentiate between them. And so thinking about that, you know, where could Ethereum be going on the next leg up? So the 786 here, I think that would be maybe a conservative target, but that really just depends on where we pull back to, because if we do pull back lower than this line, that is going to be lower, as you can see. But let's assume that the low is in there. We pull back to it, we test it, and then the 786, that would bring price to around 3,200. The 100% would bring price to around 3,400, which to me seems like a more conservative level than going again to the 1618, which would put price at around $4,000. But that also corresponds with the tops over here, so maybe that's the next leg. I don't really know. But then just thinking about this range here, does that correspond with, you know, some consolidation over here? So yeah, I mean, really getting to around the, you know, like with this, the 2618 here, getting around 3,000 to 4,000, there's a good amount of consolidation there, and that could be some resistance. So good to keep that in mind, but I think that's enough on ETH, especially actually, you know, if we look at this, I should just mention this with the RSI. I guess you can't see it, it's behind me. But right there, we see the RSI very overbought. And that makes me think that with this being a higher high in the RSI than over here, whereas over here we have a lower high in the price, higher high over here, lower high currently, that is hidden bearish divergence, which may not be that significant, but maybe it's something. And so we are starting to see a little bit of a cool off. That makes sense. But that could be a little bit of a cool off before the next leg up. So yeah, I still think that Ethereum is going to at least 4,000, possibly 8,000 by the end of the year, which, as you guys know, is my thesis. And so I will continue on with the next one in a second. I'm just going to have another sip of coffee. And I also will have another sip of water, make sure I stay hydrated. All right, so now that I've got that out of the way, let's look at RLC. This is iExec, ticker symbol RLC. This is a very speculative altcoin, very low on the market cap list. As you can see, it's only at a $93 million market cap. This is one that I FOMO bought in 2021. I've held and really just kind of like learning from those lessons about Ethereum. I've been thinking that I would trim this at break even, but what I learned with Ethereum, which is a much more safe investment or trade than something like RLC with such a small market cap. But what I learned in past cycles with Ethereum is let it run a little bit. So maybe I want to do that with RLC, but I did add some over the past week, which I was contemplating doing $200 buy, because that's with Coinbase, which has some fees. What I ended up doing is I did a $50 DCA over the course of 4 days. My average buy was between, I think, $1.32 and let's see, $1.40. If I would have bought right away all at once 200, my average would have been lower, but we'll see that the RLC price has come down some. And so I'm going to evaluate, do I want to do another $200 based on $50 DCAs, because that way the fees with Coinbase are a little bit lower. At least that's what I saw. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do feel like the fees were lower for doing a daily buy that was automated rather than just doing $50 here, $50 there, stuff like that. But maybe since it has pulled back, it would have been better for me to just, wait and buy when it seemed cheap. But, whatever. I think that DCAing does work out best overall, takes the emotion out of it. But yeah, let's look at the market cap from Coin Market Cap over here. I bet this is going to be at the very bottom of the list, and it is. It is ranked at 398 as far as market cap size goes. Very, risky in that sense. And the market cap has come down some. So we can see that number there. I'm just going to copy and paste it over here. And so let's do that. Okay, so that has come down. I'm going to color that number red. And the current price of it, at least at the close on Friday, let's look at the data over here. RLC USD, Coinbase. All right, let's zoom in on this. This is actually pulling back pretty nicely right now. Hey. Let's see. So yesterday's close, May 16th, was at 126.12. So I'll do 1.2612. I'm down 54% on this. Last week, though, I was down 60%. So I'm doing a little bit better because I did add. And my average is now 272. I kind of want to get my average to around 220 because I had noticed like this. Let's see, what did I notice? I think this downtrend based on, the highs from over here, consolidation around here. And that's where price could potentially be bumping into some resistance. Then I'd, trim pretty aggressively. So RLC moves down on the list because I think it's too speculative to be this high. But maybe the lesson that I learned with ETH, maybe hold for, some continued gains. I don't really know. I've got to think about that. But I'm wondering, do I want to do another, some more dip buys on this? And, the reason why I didn't continue with the $50 DCA throughout the week was because I wanted to see, is RLC going to be pulling back some? And it is now. It's at 120. I didn't get the opportunity to buy at 120 last week with that $50 daily DCA for 4 days, accumulating up to $200. And so I think what we're seeing now is actually an opportunity, a dip buying opportunity. And so what happens is, like a week ago, I'm excited. I was excited for last weekend's video. I'm buying. And that's not what you want to do. You want to be buying when it's pulling back. You want to be buying when you're like, well, I don't know how much lower it's going to go. Maybe I'll wait for that. That's how you miss the bottom. And so let's just evaluate this, zoom in on the chart to kind of assess where the bottom could potentially be. And so I had drawn this Fibonacci extension based on, let's see, the highs from over here. Let's do the consolidation highs. I like that. Thinking a little bit better, and then maybe the consolidation lows. I'm not really sure. No, I'll do it with the more proper, the wick highs there. And so we could see that this could potentially be coming down to that 382 retracement, which is around $1.16 or 17. We're not there yet, but that could be happening. But since this is a retracement from the low here to the high here, maybe what I want to do is the retracement from the low here up to the high here. And so we've surpassed that 382. We've also surpassed the 50% retracement. And now it looks like we've wicked down to and are maybe bouncing a little bit from the 618. So that makes me feel like, yeah, this could be a really nice dip buying opportunity. But if it does go lower, maybe I will adjust this to exclude the 382 because we've already gone past it, to exclude the 50% because we've already gone past it. Maybe I want to add the 786. And so that's a pretty big pullback. That's down to like 113. Maybe that's getting a little bit greedy. So given that the 618 is a level that we just pierced and that the next one down, the 786, is maybe a little greedy, I think that this is a good time to be DCAing, to continue that DCAing that I started last week. So I'm going to say that, yeah, I'm going to give it the go-ahead. I'm going to give it the go-ahead to do 4 more days of $50 DCAing, and I think now is a great time to start doing that. Maybe it bounces, but I'm still getting, discounts relative to like the 140, when I was DCAing up here at the highs. Don't want to be doing that. I want to get my average down at the lows, not at the highs. And with that being said, yeah, I think 220, I think $3. I need to adjust these. I think earlier, the tickers earlier in the video, I was not doing this to the consolidation highs. I was doing it to the wick highs. And so I just want to move this over to here. That would be around a price of $2.90. And then the highs over here, the all-time highs, or no, this is not the all-time high. So, yeah, but still, red, speculative, whatnot. Let's do this to the consolidation highs. We did get some pierces of this, but that's the wick high there. That's around 450. Got multiple closes, or one close above there, multiple wicks above, some wicks testing it. So I think 450 is a good level. And then going back even further in time, we can see these levels here, which, to be honest, I kind of want to adjust these. 10, that's just an approximate level. So I'm going to adjust the coordinates to just be exactly 10, just so I know that, hey, that's just 10, right around there. And these, this wick high, I think that I should actually adjust that. Sorry, I'm not the best with trading view. I'm going to adjust this not to the wick high here, but the consolidation highs from over here, because then we had multiple tests of that level, and that was around, I was just talking about 450. Okay, this is around 550, or actually around 540, 539, just about. And then, let's see. And then this one over here, 10, I was just talking about that. And the highs over here. I think at 1975, that's, you'd have to pinpoint that exactly to the second to sell at those highs. So I should probably move this down. Consolidation highs, multiple wicks above there. So you have multiple days, multiple opportunities to exit at that level. That's around 16. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of, what I'm seeing with this. A lot of red to the upside because I think it's risky. And red would suggest, taking profit levels. But maybe I want to adjust this a little bit. So maybe this is a horizontal yellow line. This is a horizontal orange line. And then so I do have a little bit more of a gradient to trim, take profits more seriously. If holding anything, moon bags, very small position, maybe take profits at 10 or 16. And that would just be a great upside potential from where we're currently at. And because of this gradient, because I have this downtrend here, the yellow, and because my thesis, because we did break above this, maybe we're just retesting it as support, I should probably adjust this line to be green, like it's a dip buying opportunity. So I'm excited about that. I think that looks compelling. I do think that we could be seeing some resistance around 150 though, corresponding with this uptrend here, but maybe that's just a little bit wonky, a little bit hand wavy. But yeah, I mean, I am excited to not lose money on RLC. Hopefully I can trim notably either at break even or slightly above, while still having somewhat of a moon bag for those higher levels. But at that time, RLC would be lower on the risk list here. And so I should have brought a snack up here because I think I'm going to need one, but I'll just have a sip of coffee before moving on to the next ticker. And I'll probably speed up my analysis on them because I've been doing this for about an hour. And I don't want to be doing this forever. Okay, so the next one on the list is Ethereum Classic, which I have been doing the $3 DCAs, daily DCAs via Robinhood. And the goal of that is to really just be getting my average down, which was at 22, or is currently at 2269. Last week it was at 2280. The week before it was at 23. So want to be getting that down, and I have been doing that. And so let's adjust this market cap. So it was just shy of 3 billion last week. Let's see where it's at now, looking over at the list here. And it is, let's see, Ethereum Classic is number 37. Oops, above Ed's head there. Number 37 on the list here. And it does look like it's gone down a little bit. Not an insane amount, but it has gone down a little bit. So I'm just going to plug that. Oh, that's the wrong number. So I guess I didn't copy it correctly. Got that there. Put that in here. And I don't think I want that dollar sign. So yeah, relative to the prior week, Ethereum Classic, which was right here, 2.9. Now it's 2.7, so it did go down. So I'll just adjust that. And maybe I can automate that so I don't have to be, I definitely can't automate that color, but depends on how much time I want to spend in this spreadsheet. I don't think I spent enough time in it. But maybe that would actually make this more efficient. So yeah, maybe I'll do conditional formatting for those numbers. I'll think about it. Okay, so anyways, the price here, let's look at that. Actually, I like that idea as far as conditional formatting, so I'll consider that. And that could also be the price. Oh, this is all green. Maybe I also want to, this is also just going to correspond with that. So that will be red. And we can just check it. Nope, Bitcoin actually went up. Weird. Let's see, Doge went up. Okay, and so that's crazy. Oh, it's because it's pulled back some. So the times are going to be a little bit different. And so here, Ethereum Classic, or sorry, Ethereum. I should be talking about Ethereum Classic. Derailing a little bit. 23. So that did go up. RLC actually came down. So I'll make that red. And then now, sorry to derail, we'll continue with Ethereum Classic at 27.87. And so let's see, the price for Ethereum Classic is, let's see, Ethereum Classic, ETC, Coinbase US dollar. This one closed yesterday on Friday, May 16th, at a price of $18.70. So I'll put that $18.70. And it looks like I'm down 18%. I was previously down 16%, so it's not as good. Price was $19.21 last week. Now it's $18.70. So we're going to make that red. And looking at the chart, where could this be pulling back to? I believe I talked about this last week, maybe coming back to around 1725, maybe 1750. I think that's possible. And so we can kind of get an idea of that by doing a Fibonacci retracement here. And so, yeah, 1766 corresponds with that 618. But maybe I do want to add the 50% level on there. That's where we're currently at, around 1829. So yeah, I'll just leave those levels so we can kind of evaluate 50%, 618, and then 786. And yeah, so I'm not going to spend too much time over here. I'm just going to be doing my very boring daily $3 DCA with Ethereum Classic. I see no problem with that. Just trying to get my average down because it's a little too high up on the risk list here. I do want to at least move that down relative to the other ones down here. But in order to do that, I can be adding to these, I could also be adding to this to then trim when it pulls back. So that's something I might be doing. Then the next one on the list is going to be Ondo, ticker symbol OND. And we will now look over at the market cap of Ondo, which is 36 on the list, just one above Ethereum Classic. So looking at the number here, we can see that it is, hopefully, gotta get that, highlighted, copy that. Paste that over here. That has clearly gone down some. So that looks like it's the same number as ETC. That can't be right. So let's copy that. Make sure that's correct as I paste it over here. There we go. That looks right. And so that has come down from last week, as we can see there. So I will color this one red. And then we can look at the price to see if the price has gone up. Looking over here at ONDO, Ondo, Coinbase US dollar right there. So this closed yesterday, Friday, May 16th, at a price of 93,743. 93,743. And that is green. But what was it the week before? It was above $1. So this actually, I'm tempted. It's below $1. My average is about $1. Dang it. This would be a $100. This is bad. This is where crypto gets bad. Maybe I want to do a $100 dip buy on this. I'm going to have to think about this. Oh, and I got to do that. It's 100. Boop. There we go. Okay, so that's something that I need to consider. I need to think about. That's tough. My average, I'm down 14%, it looks like, which is really not so bad. This is actually not such a huge position, but because it's on uphold, I've had to do in like, $100 buys, dip buys, because it's a 99-cent fee for purchase. 1% at $100. I don't really want it to get any worse than that. And so, yeah, this is one that I'm tempted. But let's look at the chart. Yeah, I mean, thing that's kind of compelling about this is, and actually maybe there's a tool that I could use that I've actually not used, to be honest. So maybe we're in a disjointed channel where if I connect maybe from, I've never done this before, so we'll see how this looks. But there's kind of, an approximate bottom, which doesn't look that great. And then something. Oh, so I did this kind of wrong. I don't know how to draw this. Okay, so if I do a disjointed channel, I think I should come from the high here to maybe the highs here, and then, no, I don't know how to draw this with this thing. So maybe I won't do it. Maybe that's something for me to experiment with. But the real thing that I wanted to point out is like from the lows here, we did get a fake out break below. We are doing this. And then I kind of just wanted to illustrate like the tops over here going up like that. So I find that to be intriguing. And we do see some wicks above. We do see some wicks below. And that would be suggesting that 90 cents, right around there, nearly where we're at, could be, the level to add some. And so we have had a pretty notable pullback from like the highs here. It's currently down about 20%. Yeah, so Ondo, I'm thinking that this is kind of in dip buy territory. And so maybe I want to do that. This is like bad news bears type of thing. Yeah, I'm going to have to think about that. But $100, I'm intrigued to add a little bit more. And that might come into play with these other ones like Solana, XRP, and Cardano, because I was thinking about adding to them, even though I believe I am in the green on them. These limit dip buys have not been hit, but I'll have to think about that. So let's, with that being said, let's continue on to the next one, which, as we can see, the next one on the list is going to be Solana, ticker symbol SOL. Market cap last week was just shy of $89 billion. Let's see where it's at over here. Going to be a little bit higher up on the list. I imagine number 6 here, 87 billion. Copy that number. Hopefully I got it. Nope. Yeah, it's like I don't know the best way to copy these numbers over. It's highlighted still, so that should be good. Paste that over. And so what was it last week? 88. Now 87, so this has come down a little bit. Let's look over at the price of Solana. Solana futures, nope, I want, where is it? Coinbase derivatives, nope, I want the US dollar, okay. So let's look at that. What was the closing price? This actually looks like it could be bottoming. With that current shape of the candle for today, I don't really know. But the closing price for May 16th was 167.48. 167.48. And let's see. Yeah, I'm still in the green. I'm still in the green with this one. And so, yeah, I probably, I'm just going to leave. I think the limit dip by $5. Taking it easy. But I don't know. This is a tough thing because I'm like just doing this based around paychecks and based around, this and not getting into debt, not taking money out of savings. So, yeah, I don't know. This is a little bit of a predicament, but maybe some of these ones that I was doing daily DCAs down here of like $1, maybe I want to actually put some of those on pause. And maybe I want to then do a daily DCA into some of these other ones that, I'd like to do a $5 dip buy, or maybe I could just do a $1 DCA. I think compromise is key. So maybe that is something that I want to consider. And so I will do this like this, $1 plus that. We actually can't see that. So we'll do like that. So that would be like, maybe I want to do a $1 DCA plus with that $5 limit dip buy. So that's something I need to think about. And maybe I want to cool off on the Ethereum Classic. I don't know. This is why this is helpful for me. I put it all on the table and I think about it. And hopefully it's helpful for you in your process. But yeah, let's just keep thinking about Solana. Where could this be pulling back to? I mean, it could be pulling back to the lows or the highs here around 150, but maybe it's consolidating where it's currently at, or it is, potentially. And so that would suggest that's just above the 50%, which is around 162. The 618 is around 157. And then this 786, I think that's a little greedy. It's getting to around 150. So those are some possibilities with that. I think there's a lot of, or actually not, like it's tough to say, but 263, that is from current price, not a 2x. The current price is around 167, but there's some upside potential there. So yeah, I mean, maybe this is something that I want to be thinking about. But let's continue on to the next one. And actually, sorry, no, before I continue on to the next one, I need to, this went red. So I will have to automate that. I will have to make those numbers change based on conditional formatting, the color of them change. So I'll do that for next week. But for Litecoin, let's think about that. Market cap for last week was $7.7 billion. I believe it came down, and let's just see where Litecoin is, number 21 on the market cap list. And let's just copy that number and paste it over here. So that was 77. Now it's 74. So that did come down. So I'm going to make that red. And the price, what is the price, or what was the price last week or last night for Litecoin? Litecoin market cap. Nope. I want US dollar right here on Coinbase. And so the close, this looks like a bull flag, by the way. May 16th, the closing price was 99.50, 99.5. And last week it was above 100, so that did come down. This is like dip buying levels, you know. This is, or, you know, it's red. Seems painful, but that's when you want to be dip buying. And so I was actually doing some, because it came down to below my average, as you can see, negative 1%. And so I was doing, and I do have $1 limit dip buys placed for Litecoin, but maybe that's something that I want to think about because it's only down 1%. I don't know. I've got to think about it. As you know, I say, just from this Fibonacci extension, or retracement, which does go up to the highs, the let's see, 382 corresponds with the tops over here. That's around 90 cents. So I do think that this could be pulling back more. And if it does pull back more, doing $1 DCA, I think that seems pretty reasonable. Okay, so I kind of like that. I think that's fine. And yeah, but I'm still going to think about that. I'm going to think about that. I want to see what all these numbers look like before I assess this. And maybe I want to make this yellow. I want to think about that. I want to think about this as well. So let's see. I mean, because we're all pulling back, I need to kind of prioritize this. And yeah, so I think that Litecoin fun account on X. I like them a lot there. Easy to move, fast, cheap to move. I'm going to adjust this high here. So it's a consolidation high rather than like the wick high, which is around 411. If I adjust this to where it was consolidating, so multiple days, opportunities to get out, that's around 358, 359. And then let's see, what are the other levels that I have marked here? Yeah, I mean, because that was a good opportunity to get out over here. So, I mean, I guess I could have had that up here. But that's a long time frame. So I like that at 358. I'm just going to leave it. And then yellow. I could do some other levels. I don't want to spend too much time on this stuff. But maybe I will color this trend line green to suggest that was, you know, while it was resistance here, now it's support. And this does seem like it is a bull flag. And so I can maybe just do a Fibonacci extension. Very casual, very quick from the lows here, the consolidation lows here, or really like the lows up to the highs, and then pulling back. The 100% extension would put price at around 122. Maybe we could be going higher. I suspect later this year we will be. So yeah, not going to dive into that much more because I do want to talk about XRP next, or Ripple, ticker symbol XRP, which last week had the market cap of 140.5 billion. Let's update that, see where XRP is currently at. I believe it's the number, oh, I thought it was the number 3, but that's going to be Tether. XRP is the number 4 based on coin market cap. And let's copy that number over. Does look like, excuse me, it has gone down. Excuse me. And yeah, so I'm just going to color that red. Over here, let's see where the price is at, where the price was at yesterday. XRP at close looking at the US dollar on Coinbase. And so we can see some of those doodles that I have up here. And the close from yesterday, May 16th, was at 238.10. So let's add that here, 2.3810. And let's see what it was last week, 238.10. This is higher. So that did go up. It is green. Very good. And I should make this yellow up here because I don't want it to always be green. So thinking about that, I'm actually in the green on this, 3% in the green, whereas if we compare with Solana, I'm 12% in the green. And yeah, so this is getting pretty close. I think that I might want to, keep that $5 limit buy at my average, but maybe I'll do something like this. That's something I need to think about because I do want XRP to be, higher on the list than Litecoin and Sol, or than Litecoin and Ondo, really. But you need to do this incrementally. I can't move all of these up to the exact ranking that I'd like. Got to do it with, some strategy. And so XRP, let's see, 238. This is potentially pulling back. Let's just do, Fibonacci retracement to see from the lows here up to those highs. Currently around the 50% at 236. 618 would be around 230. And then the 786 is around 220. So this could be pulling back some more. Do have some, the highs over here around 230. So that does make sense. Have the consolidation over here, around 220. So I do think that this could be pulling back some more. I do also think, though, that this could be going a lot higher. So yeah, getting above 3, I think that's likely in the future this year, if not beyond. So yeah, good to be stacking in my view. So maybe I'll do the dollar DCA as this is pulling back in case. Well, let's see, if my average is 231, I think that might actually get filled. So maybe what I want to do with XRP is just hang tight. If you hear my stomach grumbling, I'm sorry. It's because I'm hungry. But yeah, maybe it doesn't dip to that. Yeah, so maybe, I think that's fine. So yeah, but I'll have to think about that. I'll have to think. That's what this is all about. And the next one on the list is going to be the official Trump coin, ticker symbol TRUMP. And last week had the market cap of around $28.3 billion. Let's check out where it's at now. I believe this is going to be a little bit lower on the list. Number 41, so this is really like a meme coin. At the bottom, Pepe has a higher market cap. This is number 41. And let's see, 2.6 billion. Let's see if I can copy this. 2.6 billion. Did come down. And so I'm going to make that red. And what's the price? Trump, official Trump coin. Trump USD. I'm going to look at this Coinbase US dollar. The closing price on May 16th was $12.64. Last week it was, where was it? Down here. 14.26. So yeah, it did come down. Did I adjust the number? Yeah, I did. Oh, this is where I wanted to switch back to. So I need to make that red. So this is below my average. I'm about 5% down. So I think I want to just do, a dollar DCA there, continuing to do that. And so I will. You could, as I moved over, you could see my what I'm risking and the quantity that I have, if you're curious, I guess. But the ones that are down here are notably smaller than the ones that are up here. But yeah, I think I should probably still just continue to do that because it's down. And then when I do get back into the green, then I take that risk off the table to then adjust these to be proportioned appropriately. But while it's dipping, I want to be adding. So I think I should be doing that. So yeah, let's just look at the chart here. Does seem like a bull flag. I'm just going to throw up the retracement. Did pierce, but is above now. The 50% retracement at around 1280. Currently trading around 1315. So that's approximately, I'm approximately in the green. So maybe I won't be doing DCAing next week if this does bounce. But then 1223 looks like it's the 618, and 1143 is the 786. But really, I mean, where it's at, it does seem like there was some consolidation over here. So maybe it is finding a bottom. And we do see a little bit of a Fibonacci extension to the upside. So going from this low here to this high down to the low, that could be suggesting maybe we're getting back to like 17 cents. Nothing too crazy, but I'd be in the green on that. And then I could just kind of chill. So yeah, I'm thinking that all of these I'll probably turn green, but I mean, this is Degen Ed. I've got to embrace the Degen Ed or the Degen side, but maybe not. I don't know. I'll think about it. Cardano is the next one on the list. Last week had a market cap of $10 billion. Let's look over at what it is at right now. Cardano currently marked as the number 9 with Doge above it. Pretty cool. I like Doge. Cardano number 9, $26.7 billion there. So let's wait a second. I had the wrong number. Cardano was 28. Yes. So down here, as these have kind of moved, these numbers will get adjusted. So that's something that I need to think about because I do move these around. But yeah, Cardano was not 10 last week. Let's see. I think I've copied that, so that should be correct. Cardano last week was 28. So it did come down some. So I'll make that red. And now let's look at the price of Cardano to see where that is. So ADA up here, looking at the Coinbase US dollar data. And we can see that the closing price for May 16th was $75.90. So there we go. And what was it last week? 77. So I'm going to make that red. It has pulled back some. I'm up 4%. Maybe I want to do something like this. I don't know. I do want to add, but yeah, I mean, like, is the dollar DCA on these really going to add up to a lot? No. And it's going to be annoying keeping track of the daily DCAs. I do that, put them in the spreadsheet. I'm weird, whatever. But for doing the dollar, it's not really going to change my average that much, and it will allow me to accumulate some more. Maybe it doesn't go below my average, but if it does, I got that limit buy, I'll get more aggressive. But if it doesn't, I'm at least not waiting for a level that it's never going to hit. So I think that seems kind of reasonable. But then, like, looking over at the chart, this is kind of like, it seems like a fail bull flag. It's breaking down kind of aggressively, but it is approximately following that doodle that I have there. But let's just see Fibonacci retracement. Lows here to the highs there. Currently around the 50%, 75 cents. Could be coming down a little bit lower to the 618 around 73 cents. Maybe the 786 at 69 cents. But we do have a lot of this consolidation here. I think that'd be acting as support. But if it does pull down to the 786, that's still putting in higher lows. So yeah, I mean, it could be breaking below my average. And that's really fine because these three, I like these other ones, like the memes and stuff, like Trump, like Pepe. I want to have a specific risk to those, which I think I'm above now, at least with Trump. So I would then trim it, break even, or in profit. But with stuff like Cardano, XRP, Solana, I want to just continue to accumulate those. So I want to make sure that I'm taking advantage of the dip. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I have those treated a little bit differently than the others. But yeah, let's look over at the next one on the list, which is going to be Aave, ticker symbol AAVA, which had a market cap last week of 3.3 billion. That would be this one. And so let's see where it's at now, looking at coin market cap. So Aave is right here at number 31 on the list, has a market cap of 3.3 billion. Oh, let's make sure I copied that. I'm actually just going to do an experiment. Can I just do the little click there? And so, like the shortcut key copy. That did work. Okay, cool. So that was 3.389, whereas last week Aave was 3.371. So this has actually gone up, believe it or not. And the price that we're looking at for Aave, AAVE, US dollar on Coinbase. Oh, this looks like a pretty nice bull flag. The 16th, the closing price was 230.89. So 230.89. And what happened over the course of the last week, that was at 211.18. And so that did go up. Pretty cool. I am still red, though, down 18%. So I think dollar cost averaging with $1 seems kind of reasonable. This does seem like some bullish consolidation. So I might just skip the Fibonacci retracement and do the extension here from the low up to here, down to that high, low, the low, high, low. And I will adjust that to be yellow so we can differentiate it. The 100% will be suggesting a price of around $300. So pretty cool there. Upside potential. So yeah, I'm just going to continue to do that. I think I'm going to have to be eating ramen this week, I think. Instant ramen. Insta noodle. Okay. Got some coffee. Let's look over at the next one on the list, which is going to be Chainlink, ticker symbol LINK or Link, which had a market cap last week of $10.9 billion. Let's see where it's at today. The current market cap for Chainlink, it's number 12 here, around $10.1 billion. I didn't copy it. 10.1. Didn't. Yeah, so this is why the shortcut key doesn't always work for these copies and paste. Let's see, did that work now? There we go. And so Link from last week, as I had mentioned, 10.9. Now it's 10.1, so it did go down. And let's see what the price is for Link. I want to do Chainlink, US dollar, Coinbase. Cool. This is kind of pulling back to the highs over here, so not really too surprising. 15.35 is where it's currently at. But yesterday's close on May 16th was at a price of 15.769. 15.769. And from the prior week, Link was at 16.02. So this did come down. And my average, I'm down 29%. So yeah, dollar cost averaging on that. And I mean, I think that this could be, where it's pulling back to. Let's look at the Fibonacci retracement to see where this one could be pulling back to. The 50% right around there at around 15.58 cents. $15.58, I should say. Then maybe the 618 is around $15. The 786 is around 14.22. So those are some levels this could be pulling back to. So it'll be nice to just kind of accumulating as it goes down And then when it does go back up, maybe I trim a little bit. Or maybe this is one that I don't want to be doing that with, because I think that there is some more utility with Link, whereas something like Pepe, not as much. But yeah, I mean, I just, want to be managing that, not being too crazy with this. And so $1 a day, that's $7 a week. That's really not that bad for a DCA. But then if I'm doing that with a lot of these coins, it does tend to add up. So that's something to consider. And I'm just going to have a drink of water before continuing on to the next one. Sorry if my drinks of waters are slurps of waters. But it is what it is. And so now let's go on to the next one, which is going to be Avalanche, ticker symbol AVAX, which last week had a market cap of, where is it on the list here? $10.2 billion. So let's look at where it's at now by looking at coin market cap. So Avalanche is ranked number 13, just below Chainlink, and that is less than 10 billion. So that is going to be a red one for this one. And I will highlight that to be red. And then so the price, let's check out the price of Avalanche, looking at it from last night's close, just to be consistent with those numbers, and looking at the data from Coinbase US dollar. Getting a pretty notable pullback, coming back to the highs here. I believe I talked about that last week. We're on 2260 right now. But the close from yesterday, May 16th, was at 2308. I'm down a little bit, and I did start doing the daily $1 DCAs with this. Really not that exciting, but it allows me to accumulate a little bit more. I'll just do a quick little Fibonacci retracement. Did pull back to the 50%. It's going to be kind of a common theme for these. The 618 is around 22. The 786 is around 20.7. So, or $20.70. So those are some levels to be considering that this could be pulling back to before I think continuing to go higher. But then just above Ed's head here, and for this, I might adjust this so they're all above his head. The next one on the list is going to be Stellar, or ticker symbol XLM, which last week had a market cap of about 5 billion, almost 5 billion. They're 9.5 billion. And so let's see where XLM is currently at. It's going to be a little higher on the list. Wow, Stellar right here. XLM is number 15, just below Avalanche. $8.9 billion there. And so let's populate that here. And so what did I say it was for last week? 9.4. Now, this is definitely red. Oh, and I should, for Avalanche, 23.28. That came down, so I got to do that. Okay, and so XLM did come down a little bit. Let's check out the price. Avalanche. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's what I was saying up there. So XLM, not Avalanche. And I want to look at the US dollar, but Stellar Lumens in US dollars, Coinbase. And so we can see this closed yesterday on the 16th at a price of 29.3155 cents. 29.3155. Did I get that correct? I did. And what was it last week? 29.5. So it did come down. Make that red. This is where it gets tricky, where I have these NAs. Why NAs? Dang it, this is going to be tough. I have to say this is going to be tough, because I just want to dip by so many of these. Let's move on to continuing to think about this. Down 33%. It's kind of notable. Yeah, man. I got problems, man. I got problems. So maybe what I want to do is not do these $5 dip buys and maybe just do, because then that would just help me to manage. I would be accumulating all of these a little bit as they dip. Some of them, a lot of them are more risky for sure. But then, you know, $5, if I start to do that repeatedly, that's going to be a lot of money. So maybe I want to do those as just $1 daily DCAs. So I'll think about that. Or maybe I just want to limit to one of these if it does pull back for a $5 dip buy. So yeah, XLM, I think that I should start to do this again. In all honesty, once it gets back to my average, then trim. So yeah, looking at this, just going to do another boring Fibonacci retracement. Going to be right around the 50%, I assume. Actually, below it did test the 618 at 28 cents, but currently around 28.7 cents. Could be pulling back to that 786 around 27 cents. So do keep all of those cents in your mind. Keep your senses, your wits about you. But now let's look over at Pepe, which had a market cap last week of $5.4 billion. Let's update this number here, which is for something else, which is for, I believe, Trump coin. Or no, that would be for RLC, I imagine. I'm not sure. No, that would have been for one of these other ones that's Loopring. That would be for Loopring, I believe. Yes. So Pepe last week, I'm getting derailed here. Pepe last week, these are the numbers I want to look at and compare to. And that's a $5.4 billion market cap. Let's look over here. Pepe ranked number 26. Did come down a little bit. Oh, man. Highlight and copy. Okay, cool. And let's paste that over here. No, don't want that. Pepe. This is why I tend to do that. I think it just copies a little bit better. 5.2. That did come down a little bit. And then let's look at the price of Pepe. Pepe. US dollar, Coinbase. This is pulling back some, but it's also holding its gains pretty nicely. The close from yesterday, May 16th, was at a price of 4/0s1260. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4/0s1260. And I believe that's probably going to be down. No, that is up from last week. So cool there. I'm down 34% in this. I've got the NA there. But, you know, might as well just get my average down. Have some fun with it because, I mean, this is actually holding up pretty well. You know, like from this low up to the high here. We haven't even gotten down to the 50% retracement. And if I do a Fibonacci extension from that low up to that high and to about where we've been pulled back to, 100% represents 4 zeros and approximately a 2. And that would be 4 zeros and approximately a 2. That would be approximately break even for me. So if I get the average down while it's dipping, yeah. I think that's okay. I think it's reasonable. So I will probably be doing that. Loopring, though, I am going to leave that as an NA because it's through Uphold, which makes it a little bit more difficult to dollar cost average into because of the 99-cent fee on there. But so for considering Loopring, which is ticker symbol LRC, let's look at the market cap from last week, which we can see was $159 million. Let's check it out over here. It is going to be ranked 280 on the list there. And for as far as coin market cap goes, and it is now 100. Let's see if I copy that. 146. So that did go lower. So I will paste that here. So that is red. But let's look at the price. The price of Loopring LRC. I don't want coffee. Loopring US dollar Coinbase. Okay, so the closing price from yesterday, May 16th, was at 10.94 cents. So 10.94 cents. And what was it the prior week? 11.52 cents. So that is red. That did come down. And I am down about 43% on that. But I'm not going to add because I would have to do it about $100. And I don't want to do that. This is speculative. It is risky. But this is pulling back to those prior highs around 10, 11 cents. So that could be some support there. And if I do a Fibonacci retracement from these lows up to the highs over here, we're approximately pulling back to just below the 50%, which is around 11 cents. The 618, which we did test today, it looks like, is around 10.5 cents, whereas coming down to the 786 is around 10 cents. So this could be pulling back some more before it does go higher. So good to be prepared for that. But I'm just going to be chilling with Loopring. I'm not going to do anything crazy with that. And then now, let's see. The last one on the list is going to be Uniswap, ticker symbol UNI, which last week had a market cap, that is the correct number there, had a market cap of $4.3 billion. And so let's look over here. Uniswap is ranked number 30 as far as coin market cap goes. And let's just copy this number to put it in here. And so we can see that it did go down. And so because of that, I'm going to color it red. And then I will look over at the chart of Uniswap. Uniswap market cap, no. US dollar, Coinbase, yes. Okay, this one pulled back to below the highs over here. So maybe it's a little risky, but maybe it's a nice discount. The closing price for May 16th was $6.07.9 cents. So $6.07.9 cents. Last week, it was $6.35.5. So this is red. I am at 55% in the negative. So what I might do in assessing this, I'll do this in a second. First, I want to look at the Uniswap chart to put up just a quick little Fibonacci retracement to see that, yeah, we're right around the 618. That's around $5.82. Right around there, $5.83. And the 786, a little bit lower, is at about 535. So this could go lower, but this is potentially at the support here, the prior highs. And so maybe this does start to go higher. But yes, let's think about the numbers over here and maybe just do some math. Just put it out there. And so basically, I have all this money already set aside in Strike. I don't necessarily have this money set aside in Robinhood. And this, I do have the limit by placed, but I don't think it's going to be coming down 27% Doge to fill that. So I'm not even worried about that. But all of these, other than this one, I'm notably negative, or, like Solana here. Actually, maybe Solana is one that I want to compromise on. Because Solana, considering Solana XRP and Cardano, Solana is highest up on that list. I'm up 12% on it, whereas XRP I'm down, I'm only up 3%, and Cardano I'm only up 4%. So maybe what I want to do is not do the $1 DCA, which is nothing, but it allows XRP and Cardano to move up a little bit on the list maybe. So maybe I want to do this, in all honesty. It's a little bit sad. And then I'll just leave that as white. I don't have to do anything, And then maybe next week, if it is closer to 0, then I would perhaps get more aggressive. But these, I feel all right with that. I feel all right with that. Okay. And yeah. And then so let's see. Thinking about the ones up here, 18% down. I mean, it's down. What was I down last week? 16%. The week before, down 25%. So I guess it could go lower, but maybe not. $3. Maybe I want to adjust that to $1. No, because I think I want to be more aggressive with these because they're higher up on the list, the risk list, than I would like. So I want to get them down. So I will continue to do these, I think. I think that's fine. Ondo, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to do some math before I assess that because it's a lump sum, not just a daily DCA. Litecoin, I don't really see any problem with that. Continuing to do that. Trump, down 5%. I don't really see any problem with that. Whereas Litecoin, I'm down 1%. So, I think that's fine. All of these, let's see. I'm down notably other than AVAX, Avalanche. So I could get the averages down on all of those. And then Uniswap. Maybe I want to get the average down on that as well. So with that being said, let's pull up the calculator app to consider what I would need to do, what I would need to have on the side to add to these. So I've got a $3 DCA plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus 10 $1 DCAs is $13 a day. Okay. Plus the $36.25 a day for Ethereum. Is about $50 a day. Okay, I can manage that. Multiply that by 7 days in a week. That's about $350 that I need to have. $345. Let's be more precise, but not super precise. $350, $345. And then on top of that, to do this dip buy, add a little bit more of RLC. That's $200. And then that puts me at $545. And so I'm just going to check something on my phone real quick just to kind of think about this. Actually, no, I already know what the number is. Am I degen ed or am I not? Let's look at the Ondo chart because I kind of want to think about that a little bit more. Oh, Bitstamp. There we go. That's not what I've been using. I want Ondo US. Okay, this is it. Sorry. I think that this is coming down to 90. Did it wick down to? What was the low so far today? 92. I think based on my trend line that this could be coming down a little bit lower. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to write this on my little notepad. I'm going to write down Ondo, put a big box around it. And if it comes down to 90 cents, then I would do this. But if it doesn't come down to 90 cents, then I'm just going to chill. And so I think that's manageable. I think that's reasonable. And this, I'm going to make that white because I don't have to change anything with that. And so all of these, and actually some of these I don't have to change. Like Litecoin, I can leave that. Like Ethereum Classic, I can leave that. XRP, need to add. Trump, already doing it. Aave and Link, already doing it. AVAX as well. So those I don't need to change. These I do need to add. And this one I need to consider. And so with all that being said, kind of like the fun way that I've been trying to like track this stuff is by looking at a graph of, how my P&L changes every week with these. And so oh my gosh, why is this down? There we go. It just needed to reload because those were zeros before, so that's why it was negative. But yeah, I mean, we can see that, RLC here is curving up. So that's looking good. And so maybe, I want to continue to get that up. We do see that Uniswap has turned down, and that's actually the one I'm most negative on. So Uniswap, I'm down about 55%, whereas RLC, I'm down 54%. So that's something that's kind of interesting. The ones that are doing the best are Bitcoin, Doge, and Ethereum. Those are the ones that I have more of the thesis on. So I think that's good. And then the ones down here, Cardano, 4% in the green. XRP, 3% in the green. Sorry, Ed's in the way. And 3% in the green there. And then Solana, 12%. Yeah, so those are the ones that really I feel have the most conviction in, and I'm positive with them. Everything else I'm basically red on. But, I'm going to kind of try to change that. And yeah, I mean, look at ETH. That's the one that's in blue here. That one has really outperformed over the past week, which might mean that over the course of the next week, it might underperform. But I'm just going to continue to do that daily, very boring type of DCA as I've gone over. I was just thinking other ones that, have really performed nicely. Really, like actually, Ethereum performed nicely over the past couple weeks, really over the prior week. That's why I was excited about last week's video. Same with Pepe, but they've kind of cooled off. Maybe they continue higher, maybe they continue to cool off, maybe pull back. So I guess I just wanted to mention that. But then, yeah, coming back over to here, I am going to have to consider the Ondo dip buy if it does come down to, I wrote Ondo, but not 90 cents. So I will write 90 cents there that I want to be paying attention to. And then maybe that would be finding support there. So that's what I will consider. All these other ones I am going to do. And this one, maybe it's stupid, maybe it's risky. I don't know, but it's, when prices come down, that's like, that always happens to be when the bills are due, when, all this stuff. And it's like, when you have the cash, that's when everything's up. I find that, it's the same in the market, in personal life, whatever, managing personal finance. And so now with things pulling back, I probably shouldn't be doing this so aggressively, but I do have the debt that I have in savings, earning interest on that. So I'm not concerned. I just, it's degen ed. I've got to embrace it. I've got to lean into it. And with that being said, I'm going to bring Ed back here. I'm going to come back to my thesis so we can just see that based on, this little graph over here. And I'm just going to wind this down. But, as always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more Crypto Corner sat stackers like this. And I'll see you in next week's update. And, otherwise I will be doing pre-market preps next week. So take care. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather if it's nice where you're at. And if not, make sure you're being productive, doing whatever you're doing. And keep stacking. Take care, you guys.